The first night I knew my marriage was not ordinary was the night I heard my late mother calling my name in a dream, and I opened my eyes to see my husband's hands all over me. I swear, it felt too real. In that dream, my mom's voice was sharp, almost like she was standing at our sitting room door. "Claire! Claire!" The same way she used to call me when food was ready. Before I could even answer, my eyes cleared, and there was David, pressing me like a man who had been starving for weeks. For a moment, I didn't even move. My body was awake, but my mind was still inside the dream. My husband was kissing me like somebody desperate, and all I could hear inside my head was my mother's voice, dragging me back. I wanted to push him away and ask, "Why now? Why this exact moment?" But the word did not come. By morning, sunlight was already filling the room, and David behaved like nothing strange had happened. He stretched, scratched his chest, even whistled as he asked if I wanted bread or yam for breakfast. I just sat there, watching him wear his shirt, like maybe his body had been borrowed in the night. David is not the type to rush me anyhow. In fact, if he touched me once in 2 weeks, I will count it as improvement. That was why my heart refused to rest. His sudden hunger came at the exact second my mother's voice pulled me out of sleep. How do you explain that one? I tried to brush it aside. I told myself maybe it was just coincidence. Maybe I was thinking too much. I carried that thought into the kitchen, even when I went to buy pepper at the junction, but it followed me like shadow. Later in the evening, when he came back from work, I studied him well. His laughter was too light, like somebody who had no worries. But when I mentioned casually that I dreamt of my mother last night, his whole face changed. He cleared his throat, shifted, and just asked if NEPA had brought light. He didn't even look me in the eye. That very night, I stayed awake longer than him, watching the ceiling fan turn, listening to his breathing. I wanted to believe it was nothing, but my mind was not giving me peace. I finally closed my eyes, forcing myself to relax. Faint but sharp, my mother's voice, "Claire." And just as my eyes opened, David's hand was already sliding across my waist. Her voice came again, sharper this time, like someone standing at the window of my dream. "Claire!" It dragged me out of sleep, and the moment my eyes opened, David's hand was already on me again. For a few seconds, I just lay there, pretending not to notice. My body was still heavy with confusion, and my mind couldn't keep up. Was it normal for someone's late mother to be calling their name every time their husband suddenly became passionate? The thought alone made my heart misbehave. He didn't even know I was awake. His breathing was steady, his movements slow, like someone carried by a strange force. I turned my face slightly, pretending to adjust my pillow just to look at him properly. His eyes were half closed, but his expression didn't look like someone in control. It was like something else was guiding him, and that realization made my skin crawl. By morning, everything returned to normal again, as if nothing had happened. David woke up, greeted me with his usual tired smile, and even cracked one of his lazy jokes about how I snore when I'm tired. I laughed small, but deep down I was boiling with questions. While he ate his bread and egg, I watched him closely. "David," I said casually, "do you remember what happened last night?" He paused with a fork in his hand, blinked twice, then shrugged. "Nothing now. Did something happen?" His tone was calm, but his eyes refused to meet mine. That was when I knew something was off. He didn't even flinch, just carried his plate to the sink like nothing mattered. That day, I couldn't focus on anything. At the shop, I was distracted. When customers came, I smiled and gave them wrong change. Even the woman selling beside me noticed. "Claire, wetin happen?" she asked. I just told her I didn't sleep well. But the truth was, I was scared of sleeping again. That night, I decided to stay awake. I waited till David started snoring. Then I closed my eyes and begged God silently not to let me dream. But dreams don't take permission before they come. It happened again. My mother's voice, louder this time, almost crying, "Claire, Claire, can you hear me?" I wanted to answer, to ask her what she wanted, but before I could open my mouth in that dream, something dragged me out of it. I opened my eyes, and there he was again, holding me like before. The same rhythm, the same silence, the same timing. I froze there, my body stiff. My mind wanted to scream, but I swallowed it. The next morning, I didn't even greet him. I just stood at the kitchen sink, washing plates, my hands shaking slightly. When he came behind me to hug me, I moved away quietly and said I had back pain. He nodded and walked off, not even suspicious. That hurt me even more. That was the day I decided to start writing everything down. I bought a small notebook and hid it under my pillow. Every time I dreamt of my mother, I wrote the date, time, and what David did after. The first time, the second time, the third time. The pattern was too clear. 3 nights in 1 week. Each time my mother's voice called my name, David's body came alive. Another night, he wouldn't even touch me. He'd lie beside me like someone doing dry fasting. I started asking myself questions I couldn't answer. Was my mother trying to warn me about something? Or was David using something spiritual without my knowledge? Because how could a dead woman's voice control a living man's desire? Days turned into weeks, and my fear grew quietly. I stopped telling anyone about it. Even my younger sister, Ada, who calls me every weekend, didn't know. I didn't want to sound like a mad woman. But one night, as I lay there pretending to be asleep, I noticed something that chilled me to the bone. David whispered something softly under his breath before touching me. I couldn't hear all the words, but I caught one line clearly. He said, "She's here again," and my whole body went cold. The words echoed inside me long after he said them. "She's here again." I didn't move. I just lay there like someone pretending to be dead, while my mind was shouting inside. Who did he mean by she? My mother? Did he also hear her voice in his own dream? Or was it just something strange he was saying without knowing? The more I thought about it, the more everything around me began to feel like a trap. By morning, David was already dressing up for work like nothing had happened. He even asked if I wanted him to buy suya on his way home. I just nodded, because my voice didn't want to come out. Inside me, I decided that I needed to be sure of what I was thinking before doing anything stupid. I couldn't accuse my husband without proof, so I planned to test him quietly. That night, I told myself I wouldn't sleep until I knew what was really going on. I stayed awake, turning from one side of the bed to the other, watching the curtain dance under the ceiling fan. David slept like a child, breathing softly, no movement, no word. I didn't dream that night. I didn't even hear my mother's voice. I just waited for him to touch me. But he didn't. He didn't even roll close. He stayed far like someone who had sworn never to touch me again. By morning, the space between us on the bed was wide enough to park a bicycle. I stood up before him, went to the bathroom, and stared at myself in the mirror. I looked tired. My eyes had small red veins like someone that cried overnight. For 3 days, I didn't dream of my mother. For those same 3 nights, David didn't come near me. He just slept quietly, sometimes facing the wall, sometimes scrolling through his phone till he slept off. When I tried to hold him or joke around, he would smile weakly and say he was tired. The distance started to sting. I began to feel like maybe I was the one chasing him away. The house became cold, not from harmattan breeze, but from silence. We would sit in the sitting room, watching TV without talking much. Sometimes, I would look at him and wonder what he was really thinking. Other times, I would catch him watching me strangely, like someone studying a secret. One night, after eating dinner, I decided to talk. I sat beside him on the bed while he was checking something on his phone. "David," I said softly, "you've been quiet these days. Are you angry with me?" He looked up, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Why would I be angry?" "Because I feel like you don't touch me anymore," I said, my voice shaking small. "Before you used to at least try, but now nothing." He sighed, dropped the phone and rubbed his face with his hand. "Claire, you're overthinking. Work has been stressful." I wanted to believe him, but his eyes betrayed him. He wasn't just tired, he was avoiding me.
That kind of avoidance that makes your heart burn and your body question itself. Later that night, when he slept off, I rolled closer to him and touched his arm gently. He didn't move. I tried again, this time holding his hand. Still nothing. He didn't even open his eyes. I lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling like I had lost something I didn't even know how to name.
By the 5th night, my body and mind were no longer in agreement. I wanted answers, but I also wanted peace. I told myself that if my mother didn't call me that night, I would wake David up and force the truth out of him. But I didn't get the chance, because that night, for the first time in weeks, I dreamt again. My mother's voice came back, louder, clearer, filled with worry. She called my name 3 times and the sound shook me out of sleep. Before I could even open my eyes fully, David's body was already moving against mine, like someone in a trance. Only this time, his lips moved too. He was whispering something fast, almost like prayer, but I don't think it was to God.